What you are about to encounter is not simply another message about kindness and unconditional love. This is a deep and honest descent into the architecture of the human psyche, revealing a truth that Carl Jung discovered only after decades of rigorous study of the soul. If you have ever felt that your kindness turns against you, that people mistake your generosity for weakness, that the more you give, the less you receive, that your availability has made you less rather than more valued, this exploration will show you why that pattern exists and what it is costing you. Jung noticed a disturbing pattern in his clinical work. Those who organized their entire identity around being good were frequently among the people suffering most. But what does it actually mean to be good? We have constructed an idealized and problematic image of goodness. The good person is always available, never says no, forgives without hesitation, and places others perpetually before themselves. Jung recognized that this version of goodness was not merely misguided, it was dangerous. When we confuse kindness with self-sacrifice and define love as the absence of boundaries, we become our own executioners. The more intensely we strive for perfect goodness and attempt to eliminate every trace of darkness, anger, or self-interest, the stronger and more ungovernable our shadow becomes. The shadow is not a metaphor. It is a genuine psychological force containing everything we have denied and suppressed. It operates like a ball held underwater. The harder you push it down, the greater the force with which it resurfaces, often in distorted forms we neither chose nor anticipated. True kindness does not emerge from denying who we are. It emerges from consciously embracing every dimension of ourselves, including those we have been trained to hide. Every time you silence the inner voice saying, "Enough," every time you bury anger, frustration, or exhaustion, because a good person would not feel that way, you do not become better. You become more fragmented and more vulnerable to the patterns you are trying to escape. This is not a call to abandon kindness. It is an invitation to transform unconscious, self-erasing kindness into something deeper, stronger, and whole. Authentic kindness is not the absence of darkness. It is the hard-won capacity to integrate every part of who we are. True kindness does not weaken the one who practices it. It empowers. It does not drain. It fills. It does not make you smaller. It makes you complete. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Your greatest journey is the one that leads you back to yourself. For those who have built their identity around being kind and good, the shadow becomes terrifying territory. Their sense of self rests entirely on being the light, perpetually helpful, endlessly available. Acknowledging any darker dimension feels like it would dismantle everything. But denial does not make the shadow disappear. It accumulates power. Repressed energy twists and mutates, emerging as resentment after unreciprocated giving, silent fury when unspoken boundaries are crossed, and a profound loneliness. The ache of being surrounded by people who benefit from your presence, but never truly see your humanity. The paradox is precise. Deny your anger, and you become passive-aggressive. Reject your need for recognition, and you become subtly manipulative. Pretend you need nothing, and you become an emotional drain, unconsciously extracting what you refuse to claim. These are not character failures. They are the predictable results of systematic self-denial. The shadow is not the enemy. It contains not only what we consider shameful, but also our unclaimed power, our capacity for healthy limits, and our right to occupy space without apology. When we reject it, we lose not only our darkness, but a fundamental portion of our light. Many who perform the role of the good one learned early that their worth depended on how much they could do for others, and how little they asked in return. These lessons become invisible structures organizing the adult personality. Kindness becomes a self-constructed prison. Any impulse toward self-protection feels like a character defect rather than a healthy instinct. This is not authentic kindness. It is fear wearing the costume of virtue, the fear of rejection, conflict, and of being fundamentally not enough. Genuinely kind people are not those who never feel anger or set limits. They are those who have integrated every dimension of their inner life. The acknowledged shadow becomes a source of strength. Discernment, the ability to perceive others' true intentions, and the capacity to protect what matters. The cost of blind kindness is paid in emotional exhaustion, abandoned dreams, imbalanced relationships, and a partial life. It appears as constant depletion, silent frustration, and the loneliness of being valued only for usefulness. Self-sacrifice elevated to identity means giving away pieces of yourself with every transaction, saying yes, while your being cries no, until there is nothing left to give. Jung saw that this pattern usually begins in childhood, when maintaining the good one role was the price of emotional safety, and love felt conditional. These lessons embed themselves at a level deeper than intellect and must be met in the body and in automatic responses. People practicing unconscious kindness become the confidant everyone leans on, the reliable presence taken for granted. When they finally need support, they meet silence. Others have grown so accustomed to receiving that reciprocity was never considered. Integrating the shadow demands quiet courage, radical interior honesty. It begins with admitting that excessive kindness has often been avoidance of conflict, rejection, and judgment. Behind it lies the fear of not being loved for who we are, rather than for what we provide. Transformation requires willingness to disappoint those accustomed to unlimited availability and to rewrite the old contract. I will be everything you need, so you will affirm my worth. The new terms are different. I will be genuine, even when not always pleasing. I will be present, but not infinitely available. I will give from fullness, not compulsive emptying. Integrating the shadow does not mean becoming cruel. It means developing a more durable, genuine kindness. The difference between a fragile flame easily extinguished and a steady fire that gives warmth without burning itself to ash. The power that arises is not aggression, born of fear, but grounded self-acceptance. Healthy boundaries are not defensive walls. They are sacred lines defining where you end and another begins. They are the practical expression of self-respect and essential to sustainable kindness. This begins with recognizing your inherent worth, not derived from productivity or sacrifice, but existing simply because you exist. Without this, lasting change is impossible. You no longer earn your right to occupy space through excessive goodness. You see that reciprocity is a necessity, not a luxury. Allowing repeated boundary violations does not protect a relationship. It corrupts it, making your presence expected and your needs invisible. Paradoxically, relationships may become fewer, yet far more meaningful. Those who leave when unlimited access ends reveal important information. Those who remain value you as a complete human being. You also learn to distinguish authentic guilt from manufactured guilt, genuine responsibility from burdens wrongly assumed. Your time, energy, and emotional resources are limited and precious. Maintaining boundaries is not a failure of generosity. It is what ensures you continue to have something real to offer. True protection of kindness comes from discernment, knowing where, when, and with whom to share, rather than from impenetrable walls. The more honestly you accept your darkness, the more genuinely kind you become. Generosity from abundance, compassion from strength. The alchemy begins when light and shadow exist in conscious relationship, like two rivers merging into a single current, neither pure light nor pure dark, but something new. Transformation does not eliminate darker dimensions. It allows them to teach. Anger shows where boundaries were crossed. Resentment reveals where giving exceeded what was sustainable. Sadness discloses where care for yourself is urgently needed. Authentic strength knows when to advance and when to withdraw, when to give and when to conserve, when to speak and when silence holds more truth. People who achieve this integration carry a quality of presence free of the exhaustion of performed virtue and the anxiety of needing constant approval. Their authenticity draws genuine connection and signals to exploiters that the old terms no longer apply. Real power is mastery of what lives within, not domination of what surrounds. A yes that cannot be accompanied by an honest no is compulsion, not generosity, and compulsion corrodes both giver and relationship. Wise kindness carries discernment. It knows when giving serves growth and when it enables avoidance. It flows with purpose and respect for both giver and receiver. Having made peace with its own shadow, it can meet darkness in others without being destabilized or manipulated. You cease being the candle that burns itself out, illuminating others' paths. You become the lighthouse, radiating steady light from rooted stability, guiding without depleting, illuminating without disappearing. Jung's invitation is clear. The path to an authentic and powerful existence does not lie in denying our dual nature or trying to be only the acceptable light. It lies in the conscious embrace of everything we are. When power and kindness coexist and inform each other, we become more complete and more capable of the life we sensed was possible. The questions are personal. What have you denied in the name of being good? What power have you suppressed for fear of being less lovable? What boundaries have you avoided so as not to disappoint others who depend on your self-erasure? Your kindness does not depend on perfection. Your worth is not measured by sacrifice. Your power does not diminish your capacity for love. Your limits do not make you less deserving of the respect you so readily offer others. This is not a destination but a living practice. The daily choice of authenticity over performed persona, of grounded power over virtue as weakness, of real kindness over automatic self-sacrifice. The world needs people who have integrated both light and shadow, who know that authentic goodness arises from honest integration, who can embody strength and compassion, who know when to give and when to hold the boundary that protects both themselves and the quality of what they offer. The path toward wholeness is not a detour from genuine kindness. It is the only route that leads to the real thing.